evening and welcome to Biz RoundUp. I'm Nadun Serivardhana, and we at our television bring you a collection of business highlights. Let's have a look at the headlines. Sri Lanka secures $334 million IMF disbursement, totaling $1.34 billion up to date. IMF Mission Chief hails Sri Lanka's transformation as a model of resilience. Tourism and energy play a big role in country's growth, President highlights. News in detail. Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning Dr. Harshana Suryaperuma said that the IMF has released $334 million as part of the extended fund facility, making the total disbursement amount to $1.34 billion now. The Deputy Minister said this speaking at a press conference held at the Department of Government Information recently.
Based on the outcome of the IMF evaluation, we know approximately $334 million will be released as a result of the positive outcome. That will take the total disbursements up to $1.34 billion of the total package of nearly $2.9 billion over a 48 months period that it is to be delivered. About 2 weeks back, I met senior officials of IMF in Japan. We had very constructive discussions relating to the impending board meeting of the IMF to iron out any corners and to assure the commitment of the government to deliver and to do the right thing. As a country, as a government, we know many of the things had to be fixed, and those initiatives are common in some of the findings of the IMF program as well. The governance diagnostic program was one of them, where they were identifying several aspects as a nation that we need to improve in terms of our governance. As a government, we believed that is inevitable. For this country to progress, we need to improve our level of governance.
Speaking further at the press conference, the Deputy Minister said that government has negotiated with the IMF to reduce the services export tax to 15% to facilitate the growth of the services export industry.
Government's approach is to prioritize on the people's needs as the first item. That is where we negotiated with the IMF team within the framework wherever possible to provide relief, to facilitate the requirements of industries. One of them was the 50% reduction of the taxes that were imposed on service sector exports. Previous government has agreed to charge 50% tax on IT sector, particularly on service exports. Through our discussions and negotiations, the present government was able to reduce it by 50% to the accepted global level of 15%, which is in par with the global minimum taxation levels. That is to facilitate the growth of the industries. In doing so, another priority was not to leave any group in the society behind, to look after the vulnerable, to meet the requirements and ensure they are being integrated into the society in a way that they are able to contribute to the economic activities as we move forward. The focus on fiscal discipline is another important area as a government that we focused on to ensure no wastage of public money, no wastage of taxes collected, either through direct taxes as well as indirect taxes. That gives the confidence to the payers of taxes.
The International Monetary Fund's Senior Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Peter Brewer, has commended the nation's remarkable economic turnaround, describing it as a model of resilience and transformation. Peter Brewer said this speaking after the third review of Sri Lanka's extended fund facility program.
He noted that the country's reserves have reached nearly half of the program targets, an achievement he called impressive. Brewer highlighted how Sri Lanka has reclaimed 40% of the economic activity lost in recent years, with the latest growth rate reaching an encouraging 5.5%. This rapid recovery is not just about numbers. Brewer emphasized its tangible impact: rising income levels, poverty reduction, and more opportunities for citizens to thrive within Sri Lanka. With a stabilizing economy, he predicted fewer people immigrating in search of opportunities and perhaps even a return of those who had left during the crisis.
President Anurukumara Dissanayake highlighted that Sri Lanka has the potential to become a global tourist hotspot driven by innovative urban development strategies. The President said this speaking at a meeting with the National Physical Planning Department at the Presidential Secretariat recently. The President emphasized the need for city planning projects that embrace and celebrate Sri Lanka's unique cultural heritage. President Dissanayake further underscored the importance of balancing urban growth with rural preservation, focusing on protecting rural culture and livelihoods while boosting economic growth through the rural economy. Among the attendees were Minister of Labour and Deputy Minister of Economic Development Dr. Anil Jayantha Fernando, Secretary to the President Dr. Nandika Sanath Kumarnayaka, Finance Ministry Secretary Mahinda Siriwardana and Secretary to the Ministry of Urban Development, Construction and Housing Ranjit Aryaratna. Stay tuned, we will return after this commercial break. Welcome back. President Anurukumara Dissanayake held a discussion with officials from the Ceylon Electricity Board focusing on a sustainable long-term strategy for Sri Lanka's energy sector. The meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat recently emphasized the importance of energy conservation and ensuring the uninterrupted power supply. Discussions also explored the current state of the energy sector and its future prospects. The President highlighted the need for innovative strategies to strengthen the energy sector and deliver reliable services to the public. Among the attendees were Minister of Power Kumara Jayakodi, Ministry Secretary Professor K.T.M. Udayanga Hemapala, Finance Ministry Secretary Mahinda Siriwardana and CEB Chairman Dr. Tilak Siembelapitiya. Now, President Anurukumara Dissanayake has announced plans to implement structural reforms within Sri Lanka's customs to modernize its institutional framework and meet contemporary demands. President said this speaking during a meeting with senior customs officials at the Presidential Secretariat recently. The President addressed key challenges including inefficiencies, fraud, corruption and public dissatisfaction with the department's operations. To tackle these issues, the President emphasized adopting new technologies to streamline operations and enhance service delivery. Restructuring plans were thoroughly discussed, with directives issued to enforce stringent laws to improve efficiency and accountability. The President also highlighted the importance of accelerating human resource management, recruitment and infrastructure development. He commended the revenue targets achieved by customs last year and outlined measures to ensure this year's revenue goals are met. Among those present were Minister of Labour and Deputy Minister of Economic Development Dr. Anil Jayantha Fernando, Secretary to the President Dr. Nandika Sanath Kumarnayaka, Finance Ministry Secretary Mahinda Siriwardana and Customs Director PBSC Nonis. The Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning, Harshana Suryaperuma, said that the port city is a good opportunity for Sri Lankan businesses to enjoy tax holidays as long as they meet the necessary threshold and criteria. The minister said this speaking at a press conference held at the Government Information Department recently.
Even as of now, there are countries who offer this type of tax holidays. They can shift themselves into a country offering such benefits, whereas a Sri Lankan entrepreneur, Sri Lankan business going overseas to enjoy such benefits, Port City has given a wonderful opportunity for such businesses who have reached those thresholds in terms of investment level, in terms of number of employees, because these ventures are to be incorporated, established and registered in the Port City are expected to provide services for foreign clients, generate foreign income, not to compete with the businesses in the mainland within the Sri Lanka. So therefore, we believe it will be a wonderful opportunity to some of those businesses who have scaled themselves up It may be in the IT sector, as you asked. If they are of the view, instead of going into a different country, leaving Sri Lanka for good, it will be a better option for them to consider getting into the port city, subject to meeting the minimum thresholds and criteria. There are investment criteria, employment criteria, timing criteria in terms of bringing the investments and getting the number of employees on board. So we believe it will be a win-win situation. We need to make sure the regulation is strengthened in a manner that no one will abuse the benefits that are offered to such type of entities.
Stay tuned, we will return after this commercial break. Welcome back. The Centre for Poverty Analysis hosted a symposium in Colombo last week, unveiling key findings from its extensive 5,000 household study on poverty in Sri Lanka. The event brought together policymakers, academics and international donors to analyse the impact of Sri Lanka's economic crisis on poverty rates and social protection programs.
While Sri Lanka had drastically reduced poverty to 4% by 2016, the COVID-19 pandemic and economic shocks pushed the rate back to a staggering 31% by mid-2023. CEP's study used advanced poverty metrics such as the multidimensional poverty index to reveal these trends and evaluate the new Aswasuma social protection program. Critical topics included how skyrocketing electricity costs affect vulnerable households and whether consumption patterns can be used to track poverty in real time. Discussions also explored the crisis's toll on health and education with a focus on women and the care economy. This symposium provided a platform for collaboration and forward-thinking strategies to reduce poverty in Sri Lanka, driving data-driven solutions for a more resilient future.
Speaking at the event, the country director of ADB for Sri Lanka, Takafumi Kadano, said that it is currently in discussions with the government and relevant stakeholders to form a national social protection strategy. He said that this strategy will guide on how to address gaps in the system and ensure policies are inclusive, relevant and aligned with contemporary needs.
We are actively engaged in discussions with the government and development partners to support the formulation of a new national social protection strategy, which will serve as a guiding framework for addressing gaps in the system and ensuring that policies are inclusive, relevant, and aligned with contemporary needs. And a key aspect of strengthening Sri Lanka's social protection system is leveraging digital transformation. And I hope you've heard about the Digital Public Infrastructure Summit that we co-organized with the UNDP the other day. And we very much welcome the government's initiative and the drive to accelerate digital transformation in Sri Lanka. Digital Public Infrastructure, or DPI, can play a crucial role in improving the efficiency, reach, and transparency of social protection programs, and investment in modern information systems will enable seamless beneficiary identification, efficient payment mechanisms, and real-time monitoring, ensuring that support reaches those who need it the most. And we will be able to alleviate some of the inclusion, exclusion issues that are faced with the programs today. And moreover, digital interoperability and data exchange across programs will reduce fragmentation and enhance coordination across various programs. And given the increasing risks posed by climate change, economic shocks, and global uncertainties that were mentioned already, Sri Lanka's social protection system must also be adaptive and to be able to respond to shocks.
The Raigam Tellies, the only Telly and Film Award ceremony in the region, held within the first quarter after the end of the year under review, held its nomination evening at a hotel in Colombo last week. The iconic figure of Sinhala cinema, Lushan Bulat Sinhala, attended the event as the chief guest of the evening. The event's judging panel, chaired by media personality Buddhadasa Galappatti, includes experts like Ravindra Guruge, Professor Ariratna Kaluarachchi, cinematographer Jayant Gunawardana, and several other distinguished professionals. This year, awards will be presented across 4 main categories: Teledrama Excellence Awards, Television Media Excellence Awards, Most Popular Awards, Awards of Appreciation. The official awards night to determine the final winners will be held in Colombo on the 29th of this month.
මෙවැනි උළෙලක නිර්දේශිත නාමයක් ලැබීමට සුදුසුකම් ලැබීමම ජයග්‍රහණයක් හැටියට තමයි අප විශ්වාස කරන්නේ. මම හිතන්නේ ඒක තමයි ලෝකයේ මෙවැනි උළෙලවල සාමාන්‍ය සම්ප්‍රදාය නිර්දේශය ලැබීම ජයග්‍රහණයක් හැටියට තමයි ඔවුන් සැලකන්නේ.
2024 ජනප්‍රිය නළුවා නිලිය සහ ජනප්‍රියතම ටෙලිනාට්‍යයට සම්මාන ලැබෙන්නේ ආදරණීය ප්‍රේක්ෂක ප්‍රේක්ෂිකාවන්ගේ SMS මනාප මත. ඉතින් ඒ SMS මත විමසුම නිල වශයෙන් ආරම්භ වන වගයි.
අගයීම් කරනවා වගේම කුසලතාවයන්ට ගරු කරනවා වගේම ඒ ගරු කිරීමේ ශක්තිය තමන් වෙතට උගහාගෙන කැපවීමෙන් මේ මාධ්‍ය හැසිරවීම මේ රටේ ජාතියේ අනාගතය සඳහා ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත්.
With that, we wind up for today. For this and more, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. See you tomorrow with State of Business at 7:45 p.m. Take care and good night.